Okay, here's the setup. APM Pro Mini, USB cord. I'm going to plug it into the USB only right now. So there's that. You can see it's going through its pre-arm. Alright, so now we're up and running. That's the power supply right there. It's a 1 amp battery, not connected yet. And so let's go over here and let's connect to the APM. So there it is, receiving the settings. There's the measured battery voltage from the APM to mission planner. Never stops bouncing. And note that it says 20, it's in the 20s on USB. That's a 5-volt supply. So that's from that unit to the laptop, connected to mission planner. Reading an insane voltage fluctuation. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to disconnect that. I'm going to unplug that. No USB. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in and use the radio modem to measure it from the battery. So there we are, power again, off the flight controller battery. Alright, so we're good, we have power. I have a voltage meter that I'm going to plug in. And we'll see the battery's at 12.2 volts. So let's come down here, and you can see on this side, there's my radio modem. So now we're going to connect through tower, and there we are, connected.
Connected.
So there we are, right there. Except now it's even greater. It's on a pack. If I left the failsafe, there goes to 0. If I left the failsafe armed, it wouldn't even arm. If the failsafe was activated, this wouldn't even arm. And if it did arm, as soon as it dropped to 0, it would kick into failsafe mode, and it would just land the helicopter no matter where it's at. So you can't even arm this thing with the failsafe activated, and you can't fly it even if you can get it to arm. If you manage to hit the stick while it's reading 60 volts, then you can arm it, but as soon as it drops to 0 in flight, and as soon as it drops to 0 to flight, it's just going to return to launch. So it's not flyable. 12.1 turned on. There's my connections. That's the power module connection right there. Correctly oriented. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just leave that connected. I'll come over here to my other 2.6 APM on a quadcopter, and I'm going to plug this one into the USB. Alright, so we're gonna, you can see that one's active now. Off the USB, that cord out of the way. We're gonna connect that APM. COM5. Here we go. And that voltage is going to settle down into its true voltage, which will be 0 because it's not reading it off the power module. That's how it should read on the USB. It should be reading 0. It's bleeding off the residual energy stored in the system until it gets down to what it's reading from the power module, which is nothing. And it'll eventually get down to that 0 and it'll just stay there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to plug in my flight pack. And now we're going to get an actual reading on the flight pack from the power module on a good working APM. That is a 3S pack. And I've got a little flight time on it already. So it's probably not going to kick quite up to 12. It's probably in the 11s. And there it is. Nice and stable. That's a good working one. This over here, still doing the same, garbage, fluctuating. That is a bad working one. You should not fly your unit if your voltage is doing this. It's a crash waiting to happen. So there's my systems. One good working APM 2.6. One, which is the second one, failed APM Pro Mini.